Do you feel imbalanced in your relationships lately? Like you just feel uneasy, like unstable. It's as if you have vertigo, not the medical type, but a form of that in your relationship. Like you come home and you just are, you're upset, you're frustrated, you're stressed. Dr. Shapiro talks about conflict vertigo. And what conflict vertigo is happens in relationships. It's when couples, become so narrow, so consumed with the conflict that they cannot think about anything else. Your brain is working so hard to balance and to resume normalcy that what ends up happening is all you think. You get tunnel vision. You can't think of anything else. We've seen it in the political realm. We've seen it with the pandemic, the closures, the possible layoffs. I think the whole world is in a conflict vertigo. But when it happens in your relationship, it's especially unsettling because your relationship is supposed to be your safe place. That's a place you go to maintain routine. That's a place you go to have somebody that has your back. Unfortunately, when you have conflict, vertigo, you're just going around and around. Any arguments you have never get settled. They just go around and around. Any types of things you're working out for the future, around and around. Nobody can make a plan because everybody's feeling off balance. There are things you can do that can quickly restore your balance or more quickly so that you won't continue feeling guilty and shameful about what's going on, your part in this relationship. Because I can guarantee you, this is happening in a lot of relationships. In fact, I've started asking clients when they come in, tell me about how you guys are fighting. Tell me about the conflict. What are you fighting about? How does it get resolved? And it's so important because I'm aware of this. I have it in my own life. If I listen to the news too long, all of a sudden I begin feeling unstable, uncertain. And whenever you feel unstable or uncertain, you are going to look for control. But if you're spinning, you can't find that control. And that's why it's very much like vertigo that you have when you're in, an inner ear or some kind of problem that throws you off balance when you get this vertigo. So let me just go through ways you can quickly find balance or at least restore yourself, minimizing this conflict vertigo. The first one is become aware of it. Have some kind of a sensor in your mind and you go, oh my God, this is what I saw on this YouTube. I'm feeling unsettled, feeling unstable, feeling dizzy with this, and I'm headed in a negative cycle. I can feel it. I'm on my partner's back. I just want to resolve this. I'm angry, I'm frustrated. Awareness is everything in this because if you can note it, you can stop it. Secondly, get up high. Like if you're lucky enough to live in an apartment or you have a balcony or you have a low roof, if you can sit up there, it really helps click your thinking of where this is. It doesn't become such a priority. I know this sounds weird, but the higher up you are looking down, and then you start thinking about the issue, it gives you a different perspective and it shifts your thinking. Now, when you come down, you have to maintain what you learned up there. But if you don't have to, if you live in an upper floor, just go out to the window. And when you think about the problem, look down, and it somehow helps make your mind change so that you feel some balance. The next thing, take an over stance. One of the things I always think about is something the astronauts said when they were far away from Earth. They looked at Earth and said, oh my God, such a beautiful planet. There shouldn't be anything we would ever do that would destroy it or hurt it. And yet, when you're here, you take it for granted. And if you have a bad weather day or an air alert, you're all upset. And you start into this imbalance and uncertainty. There is a climate crisis and nobody's attending to it. These things are true, but you need distance. You need an overview. If you're fighting with your partner, if there's a conflict, you need to see and put it in a place, a safe file of where it is in the majority of the relationship. Maybe you're trying to restore work-life balance in this new life we have since the pandemic. So if that seems overwhelming to your whole relationship, it's not. This is something that's going to go on and on. It's basically progress in motion. You're going to make little steps. It doesn't have to consume your whole life. And lastly, you can always try something we call a jolt. A jolt is when you make a move that completely shuts it down. So maybe you've been locked into needing your way, or you're like, my way or the highway. That's always been your thinking. A jolt would be as if you went to your partner and you said, you know what? I'm being silly. I'm being silly. I'm blowing this into something it's not, and I'm really sorry. That's a jolt. That will change everything. Or let's say another jolt that you don't want to have. Let's say you were out on your bike and you had a bike accident. You fell off your bike, and that gave you the priority to see your relationship different. That would be a jolt. Many times you can do a jolt on your own if you ask yourself, okay, what really would end this? And what would end it usually is you making a concession, or you going to your partner and saying something like this: I know we're fighting, but I love you. How can we work this out so that we can still love each other and not be mad about this? And when people say that, when they turn toward their partner, it's a jolt, because all of a sudden their partner wakes up too and says, yeah, why are we doing this? You're doing it because of the times, because of the situations, and because of where you're at in your life. It's not a death sentence for your relationship. You just need to be calm. You need to listen to this video, and you need to have your partner listen to this video. You're going to be okay. Conflict vertigo is like what vertigo symbolizes in many health situations. It's something that's not a real big deal usually. Could have Meniere's, not that those aren't big deals, but there's a way to treat it. Well, the way you treat conflict vertigo is you get control of yourself by these methods I've explained.